Unit 6.2 is called linear relationships. So we talked about in the last video how linear means straight line. So a linear graph is a straight line graph. And that graph shows us the relationship between two variables on our graph, which are usually labeled x and y. But the variables can be anything. We can be representing anything on our graph. And the graph shows us the relationship between the two variables. And to draw the graph, we need to know the rule that represents the two variables and connects the two variables. So this is the rule for the graph we looked at in the last video, y equals x over 2 plus 1. So that tells us a relationship and tells us how to plot the graph. So whatever the x value is, it's divided by 2 and then 1 is added, and that gives us the y value. And that relationship is shown on the graph here. So to plot a graph, we need to have some coordinates to plot on the Cartesian plane. And to find a few coordinates, we need the rule, and then we can substitute in some values for x and find the corresponding y value. So if the rule that we want to plot is y equals 2x plus 1, we can use a table of values and fill in this table to find a few coordinates that we can then plot on the Cartesian plane to represent the linear relationship. So if we'll start with the one on the right here, if x equals 2, so we need to substitute that into our rule. So I'll write the rule out again, y equals 2x plus 1. Then we're going to substitute in x equals 2. So it'll become y equals 2 times 2 plus 1. So that's 4 plus 1 equals 5. So the corresponding y value is 5, and the coordinate that we'll plot will be x equals 2, y equals 5. Okay, we'll rub that out. The next one, x equals 1. So we'll substitute in y equals 2 times 1 plus 1. So 2 plus 1 equals 3. So y equals 3. The coordinate is 1, 3. The next one, if x equals 0, so we substitute in 2 times 0 plus 1. So anything times 0 will just be 0. So y equals 1. And the coordinate is 0, 1. So now we're substituting in -1. So you need to be a little bit careful using negatives. But it becomes 2 times -1 plus 1. So -2 plus 1 equals -1. So the coordinate is -1, -1. And the last one, if x equals -2, so we substitute, we've got 2 times -2 plus 1, so that's -4 plus 1, -3. So the last coordinate, -2, -3. So now we've got 5 coordinates that we can plot onto a Cartesian plane, and then we'll be able to draw the linear graph. So again, I'll start with from the right, and I'll just quickly plot these. So we go across. Remember, the first coordinate is the x value. So we go across on the x-axis to 2 and then up to 5. So we'll plot that one there. The next one, 1, 3. So we go across to 1, up to 3. 0, 1. So x equals 0. And then we go up to y equals 1. Now with negatives, we've got to go to the left. So we go left to -1 for x, and then down to -1, -1. And then the last one, -2, -3. So we go across to -2 and then down to -3. And you can see they're all in a straight line, as you'd expect for a linear graph. So we can draw a line right through all those points to represent that linear relationship. So this line is the graph of y equals 2x plus 1. So any point on this line gives us two pieces of information. It's got a y coordinate and an x coordinate. So it doesn't matter wherever it is on the graph, it gives us two pieces of information, an x and a y, and they all fit that rule, y equals 2x plus 1. So we can use our graph to find a few things. So say we want to find the value of y when x equals 4. So on our graph, remember each point on this line has an x value and a y value. So if we want to know when x equals 4 on the graph, we've got to go along to x equals 4 and then go up to the point on the graph that corresponds to x equals 4. So that's here. So that's where x equals 4. Anywhere on this line, this vertical line has a value of x equals 4. So where our graph intersects with that line is where the graph is x equals 4. And we want to know what is the corresponding y value. So if we go across to the y-axis, we'll see that that's at y equals 9. So this point on the graph is 4, 9. X equals 4, y equals 9. So when x equals 4, the value of y is 9. And we can do the same thing when we want to find an x value, when y equals -7. Okay, so on the y-axis now, we've got to find -7. So we'd go down to -7. And then where on our graph does y equal -7? So we'd go across from the y-axis, and so it's at this point here. What is the corresponding x value? It's -4. So this point is -4, -7. X equals -4, y equals -7. So when y is -7, the x value is -4.